Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled The Worst Neighbor I Ever Had. I am definitely not as young as I used to be, and if there's one thing I have really come to enjoy in my life as I age, it is peace, quiet and privacy. However, I never thought I would have to fight for privacy in my own home against people that did not even live there. The story starts about 2 years ago. I have lived in my neighborhood for quite some time, and all of the neighbors are really lovely. Even the ones that don't talk to me as much. They always say hi or wave when they see you, so the neighborhood has never really had any major problems. An occasional house party that was too loud, but never any real problems. That is until the house next door to mine went up for sale and a weird middle-aged cranky woman moved in next door. Although I did not have issues with her right away, I heard from my other next door neighbor that this new lady in the neighborhood had complained about the neighbor across the street and her yard decorations. I never had any problems with her until a couple of months after she moved in, when I was sitting in my kitchen one morning. With the way our houses are built, hers sits slightly higher than mine. One morning I was eating breakfast and I just so happened to look through the window. Now, this window faces her house, and it just so happens that her house has a window that faces mine. I did not expect to look out the window and see her standing there looking right back at me. This was stranger than anything, and I really did not like that fact that she could see into my house so easily. After all, who does not enjoy the privacy and comfort that their own home offers? So, after this weird incident of catching her looking into my house, I decided that I would put up a privacy fence. I did not want there to be any complications, obviously, so I made sure to do my research and checked with the city what, if any, special permits or requirements needed to be met. The only thing that I really found out was it cannot be higher than 4 feet. So when I hired people to build the fence, it stood at 4 feet tall. However, just days after the fence was installed, I had gotten a letter from the city saying that my fence was in violation of the city code. My lovely new neighbors had complained and reported me. It needed to be dropped down to 3.5 feet. I did not want any trouble, so I called the people that I hired back and we were able to fix the fence. However, the battle over the fence was not over yet. We had another fence built in the backyard. It was not anything special, just a regular woodboard fence that was around 6 feet tall. She had actually come up to me to complain about the fence, stating that it was 6 inches too tall. My first thought was this woman out here measuring my fence on her own time? My second concern was why she was so concerned about my fences. It seemed like she wanted them to be shorter, which was really weird. My fence had absolutely zero effect on her, but enhanced the privacy I had in my own home. She ended up making several calls to the city, which was such a waste of time for everyone involved. The city would come out to my house, measure, mark the fences, conclude what parts of the fences were not in code, etc. They could have been doing something else. I could have been doing something else, and surely so could the crazy lady next door. Her obsession with my fences ended up costing me over double than what I had planned for when first installing the fences. I was just so frustrated. I was even more frustrated when one day I happened to be taking the garbage cans out on the side of my house and I saw a surveillance camera on one of her second-story windows pointed at my house. This was absolutely the last straw for me. I knew it would be harder to prove my case if I got a legal team involved, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. I also knew that my neighbor would claim the security cameras were pointing at her backyard, and while that may be the case, I knew my window was in that camera's view. So I decided to purchase some of those bird deflector devices that I see businesses use. They are typically very bright, and if the sun or any light is hitting them directly, they shine a bright light that scares the birds off. If I could not get her to take her camera down or respect my property, home and fence, well then, I would just make her camera unusable. And sure enough, a couple of days after I had my son install the bird deflectors on the window that was in view of the camera, she came knocking on my door. She said I needed to take them down because the glare from them was so strong that it was affecting her camera footage. I let her know that it was not my concern and what I put on my house or property is none of her concern. I also let her know it was weird that she would place the camera at such an odd angle and that if she were smart she would put her security cameras at her front door or the back door. Of course, she absolutely did not like this. It was great too, because it was not like installing the bird deflectors was against city code or anything, so she had nothing to complain about. And coincidentally, after she realized I was not taking down the deflectors, the security camera went missing and was nowhere to be found. And yeah, ripe stars, I'm curious, if you had neighbors that pointed cameras at your window to spy on you, what would you have done if you were in OP's shoes? I think what OP did was pretty smart, but maybe you can come up with something even better. In addition, while you're at it, I would also really appreciate it if you could like the video if you enjoy my content. Recently, we pretty much always got over 1000 likes on each and every single video. Thank you so much for the amazing support. And the next one is titled Unpaid Time Off? Bad Idea. I used to work at this one coffee shop, my first chain coffee shop after working only at local or family run ones. Simply put, it was hell. Owners would micromanage everything without knowing anything about how the business ran, never listened to their staff and only cared about the money. Typical out-of-touch owners of a business. I was hired to replace a manager that had walked out of one of their locations, leaving it with only part-time staff. I was told I was being hired on as the acting manager until they hired someone else or they felt I would be a good fit for the position after my 6-month probation. I won't go into everything that went wrong because there's a lot, but to summarize, it was literal hell. I was expected to cover all no-shows, which had me working 90 to 100 hours a week. I was not allowed to fire anyone, no matter how many things they did wrong. Someone actually showed up to work drunk and I still was not allowed to fire them, and any changes I wanted to implement were shut down. For example, replacing old parts in the espresso machine, shortening our hours to save money on labor, bringing in items that customers would always ask for. I was stressed, overworked and irritated as hell when the owner comes in to talk to me about sales for the store. We were not making enough to warrant the hours I had scheduled and he was not going to pay me any more overtime. I would only work the hours I am scheduled, and if someone no-showed, I had to have someone else cover those shifts. I tried to explain to him that I only came in when no one else would cover. It just so happened that the people he allowed to continue to work here had terrible availability. Making the schedule was already hard enough, getting someone other than myself to come in on their day off was next to impossible. On top of all of that, I had to learn the ropes myself. There was no one to train me, so all the managerial knowledge, ordering, scheduling, I learned myself. No one other than me knew how to order coffee, had the numbers for the repair guys, anything other than making coffee and using the till. I was the only one that knew. He was not hearing any of it. Owner:
all I'm hearing is excuses. This is your store. If you cannot handle running it, I will start looking for someone who will.
Me? Was that not the plan though? It's been 3 months since my probation period ended and you never gave me the manager position, so I assumed you were looking for someone to take over. Owner:
I think it's in your best interest to take some time off. Start thinking about your position here and whether you actually want to start moving up.
I had mentioned in the interview that I was looking forward to working my way up in the business. Me: I cannot. There is no one to cover me. Owner:
You're taking this time off.
Me: Is this a paid break? Owner:
No, consider this a timeout for you to get yourself sorted. Take 2 weeks to rest and we will see what your position will be like when you get back.
Me: Owner, I cannot really afford to take that amount of time off. I cannot even take 2 days without having to come in and cover. Owner:
Don't worry about the business right now. It will run without you.
Now, to put into perspective, I was basically the manager at that point. I made the schedules, I did the orders, I knew the codes to the safe and the alarm. I was not allowed to hire someone to assist me, and no one worked enough time to be able to cover even half of my shifts. I knew this, the staff knew this, customers knew it. I made sure to block all work numbers and spent those 2 weeks looking for another job. I managed to find one after a few days that paid significantly more. I sent my resignation email to payroll and the owner, knowing he never checks it, deleted my account off the POS system. Being a manager means I have access to it from home, and spent the rest of the leave catching up on well-deserved sleep, having blocked all work numbers. I'm not getting paid, so I'm not working. According to my coworkers, it started going wrong the next day. One of the openers did not show and the next staff member did not have keys. Owner was not answering his phone, so they left a message. Owner did not show up until one of the regulars called asking if the place was closed down. He showed up 4 hours after they were supposed to open, orders were not done, inventory was missed, 4 no-shows, you name it. It went wrong. Owner tried every way he could to get a hold of me, even using customer's phone to call me. Too bad I did not answer any calls that were not in my contacts already. After 2 weeks, I turned my phone back on and get a call the same day from the owner. We agreed to meet the next day. Owner:
So, you've had some time to think.
Me: I have. It's really given me perspective on my position here. Owner:
We can start you back on your normal hours for now, and we are looking for a manager to take on more of your responsibilities.
Me: Oh, that's good. I'm actually quitting. He was silent for a few minutes. I think he was waiting to tell him that I was kidding. Sucks for you, buddy. I'm serious. Me: I've already emailed payroll and removed my login from the computer. Here are my keys. Good luck. And then I left. Owner tried calling me a few times but stopped once I told him to check his email. I was on okay terms with some of the staff that worked there, and apparently the majority of them had quit after I had left. The owner did find a replacement pretty quickly, but without anyone to train them. Owner did not know anything about running the business. They were screwed from the get-go and left pretty soon after they were hired. My petty self is always checking reviews from customers and employees, and they have consistently sucked for the past year and seem to be on a downward trend over the past year. The next one is titled Dumb Company. I have been waiting about 2 months for this fallout in all its glory. I knew my boss would try to make me the fall guy, but I think I employed CYA well in this instance. A little backstory. I work as an office engineer at a mid-sized prefabricated concrete structures plant. About 3 months ago, our plant manager left spontaneously for a much higher paying gig down south. Due to this, his responsibilities were distributed to whoever had capacity. I was put in charge of purchasing with the caveat that any purchase order, PO, over $5,000 had to be reviewed by that project's project manager. This was due to a mistake, due in part to my inexperience and in part my overconfidence, I made on an order which only cost us a couple grand but delayed a project. Also, due to lower labor costs and the size of our own steel shop, we have most of our large steel structures fabricated just across the border in Canada. And now onto the story. Our general manager is acting PM on a project which includes a large steel frame surrounded by concrete modules. I was told to get this frame quoted by our Canadian metal fabricator. I get the quote back and throw together the PO. When I look back through the project specifications before sending the PO for review, I see our project has a Buy American clause. Not Buy America as we had assumed. Almost all of our projects are Buy America and we are very familiar with it. This little N makes all the difference. Under Buy America, a Canadian fabricator can use American steel and meet every requirement. However, under Buy American, all steel must be domestic and all fabrication must be done in the US. My GM was out of town on what was essentially a vacation to a project site we have in Hawaii, and was having none of my calls and email marked as urgent. I informed him in a couple emails and multiple voicemails that we had to go to a different fabricator or the product would be rejected. I got an angry email back telling me to place the order immediately. I tried one more call in desperation, straight to voicemail, and then sent him over the completed PO with the Buy American spec attached, telling him this is well over my 5K limit and I needed to get him to approve it before I send it out. He approved it in less than 10 minutes, I sent it in and waited for the fallout. Well, it finally happened today. Our product was delivered yesterday, and today the project owner sent over an inspector to make sure everything was done per project drawings. He noticed the manufacturer right away and told us he would have to reject the product purely because it does not meet the Buy American standard. In less than 20 minutes I was getting an earful from my GM asking me why this was not caught before we wasted over 60 grand on something that would clearly be rejected. I let him finish his rant, insulting my intelligence, threatening firing me, breaking protocol, the works. I asked him to pull up my emails from the order date and showed him that he was informed of the issue and my concerns were ignored. He did not take this well and told me to get the hell out of his office. Oops. Now there is nothing left but to wait. Our project will be delayed at least a month and the owner of our company is getting involved. I have the emails saved on a jump drive at home and the phone logs while not recording the conversations show that I left multiple voicemails on the same date, which cannot be touched by the GM. Still a bit nervous, but I think I covered myself pretty well. And the next one is titled Delicious Malicious Compliance. Me and my girlfriend have recently moved into this new apartment complex that is definitely way too overpriced compared to what you get. Also to find out that it is not soundproof at all. I live on the second floor and on the first floor is the motorbike garage. Living in Vietnam, so everyone rides motorbikes here. It's definitely way too loud. You can hear guesses other tenants coming in and out of the house like the doors and walls are not even there. To top it all off, there is a jail cell-like gate at the front door. Every time someone in the complex comes in or out of the house, it sounds like a nightmare. Especially at 1 to 2 AM. It's like having someone smash two heavy metal objects together next to your ears. Not to mention loud bikes. Other issues were like no internet for 2 weeks after we moved in, electric outlets not working, etc. The compliance. Anyways, after 2 months of this we had enough and decided to move out. The owner was not happy, but she cannot do anything because we only signed a 2-month contract, normally 3, but gut feeling told me to sign 2 only. I paid a bit more, but F it. She kept trying to get us to show the apartment to new tenants because we work from home. At first we thought what a hassle, and then it hit us that we should be warning these people of how crappy it is living here. So for the next 2 weeks, every tenant coming to see the apartment, we explained to them exactly how bad it was if no one else from the apartment complex's side came along. If there was someone coming, we would be trying to give signs of some sort, such as shaking our heads or signing no with our mouth behind the owner's back and so on. Most of the new tenants understood the signs straight away and walked away with a happy face. The most satisfying part was when couples with newborn babies came to see the apartment or young single moms. Hell, I sleep easy, but with the gate situation downstairs, the babies and their moms would definitely have a bad time here. It was just so satisfying to let them know that how much of a nightmare and overpriced this apartment is and that they are better off at other places. It made our day much better knowing we did something good. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support and I hope to see you again tomorrow.